What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of DIY Clay 525, and today is the day we start on this turbo build. It's going to probably be broken down into a few different parts because obviously there's a lot of stuff that goes into turboing a vehicle, and I don't want to drop a 2-3 hour video, so we'll break it up and you guys can see the entire process of how we are turboing our DA Integra. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get right into that video. That's what we're gonna do. So stay tuned, guys. Woo! We were able to tell that I had ran them. So I'm gonna kind of show you guys. Okay guys, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually go through and show you all the turbo stuff that we have. We don't have every single thing quite yet. Some of the stuff I'm waiting for to order until I get a little bit further along in the process, just because I'm not exactly sure on what direction I'll need to go, and I'll show you that too as we go along here. So what I'll do now is I'll show you all the turbo stuff. And you guys can comment down below if you've had any issues, or if you like any of these parts, or if you've used them before. Or if we have any other questions, definitely drop a comment down below, and be sure to subscribe as well. So we'll show you what we got here. Okay, starting down at this end here, we actually have a Go Auto Works cold side intercooler piping kit. This was specifically made for the DA Integra. Very nice setup with a 50mm blow-off valve flange on it. Comes with that piece, this piece, and it comes with couplers as well, and T-bolt clamps. So the reason we only have the cold side here is that's one of the things that I'm waiting until after I get the intercooler mounted. I want to see for the hot side what we're going to need as far as like bends and stuff, but this was the main one that I wanted to get custom made for the car, so we have that. Next on the line we have a GTX 3071 with a 3-inch V-band outlet. And a T3 flange here. Also have a AEM wideband O2 sensor. We picked this up from a guy that we know on Facebook, and it's used but in good condition. We also have this is just an eBay oil return line kit, and a feed line for the turbo as well. So feed and return. Yeah, we can always upgrade those at a later date, but we have those for now to at least get it going. We have a VS Racing 50mm blow-off valve, so that will mount to this right here. Be pretty slick, and that's got a V-band flange on there. We have a VS Racing 44mm wastegate to complement the blow-off valve. We have a Speed Factory 4-bar map sensor. Need that. We have a oil return fitting. This threads into the oil pan. We have a Moroso pan on there, and this will literally thread right into it and connect right on one of these Dash 10 AN fittings. So we have that. We have what is it? The brand, I can't remember. Oh, the Jack Spanier Racing ram horn turbo manifold. And this is supposed to be AC compatible. I was hoping to be able to use the stock, or not stock, but a full-size Radiator. But I don't think it's going to work with this one because of how thick it is. If it was the OEM one that's really thin, I'm pretty sure it would fit. So I'm going to probably end up having to go to a half-size Radiator. I'll be able to. I'll find that out more than likely in this video, because I think the first thing I'm going to do is take the header off and see if that manifold fits. So we'll know right away. Moving down the line here is our intercooler. This is a 4-inch core. I believe it's 28 inches long total, and I think it's 8 inches tall, like I said, with a 4-inch core. It's an EMUSA one. I would say it's kind of a low to mid tier one. Can always upgrade that down the road also, but I wanted it because it had a really big core, and I didn't want a super tall one either. I want to be able to keep as much of the stock front bumper as possible. So we went with the EMUSA one. I think it'll work just fine. It's big. It's probably more than what we need, but it should be good. So that's pretty much what we have so far as parts go. Like I said, we're going to need the hot side intercooler piping. We're also going to need the injectors. Unfortunately, the injectors are on back order right now until the end of next month. We were going to get the Blocks 1300cc injectors, and yeah, of course, they're on back order. So we're waiting on that. And then we will have to fabricate a downpipe, but that's after we get pretty much everything else done. So pretty much just injectors and the hot side intercooler piping are the two main things that we don't have. So what we're going to do now is I think we're going to pull this header off and see what we got for clearance. If it's not going to fit, we're going to have to order a radiator. So we'll see what happens here. So we're going to spin off all these nuts, go down below, disconnect the header from the test pipe, and pull it off and see what we can make of it. Now we just got to wiggle wobble and try and get her set down. I did disconnect the O2 sensor down below as well, so we don't have a traction bar in this car, so we can just drop her right out the bottom and slide her right out. Okay, so what I ended up having to do was I actually had to remove the radiator. I was able to keep the radiator hoses connected, and I kind of rotated the radiator up, and I was able to slide this between. If I use the factory mount holes right there, it's basically touching on the wastegate flange there coming off. So I think what I do here, if I use this hole back here and snug, basically remove this gap and push the radiator all the way up against it, I've probably got, I would say 3/4 of an inch between that and the radiator versus right up against it where it would be. So we do gain quite a bit. So what I'm going to try and do is try and utilize this radiator with the turbo and the wastegate on it. If I do run into any issues where there's going to be a clearance problem with the dump tube off the wastegate or anything like that, then we will go to a half-size radiator. But if you can utilize a full-size, big core radiator on a turbo setup, man, you are light years ahead of the competition, because road racing, time attack, basically anything other than drag racing, your car gets hot. So being able to utilize a full-size radiator if possible is like a godsend. So we will still try and keep using this. I think the next thing I'm actually going to have to do, though, is I will still probably have to remove the radiator to be able to get the wastegate on and mock up the turbo, figure out which way we need to rotate everything. So what we'll end up doing next, I don't know if I'm going to do it tonight yet or not. I might possibly. It is getting a little bit later on in the evening. Yeah, might pick up back on it tomorrow, possibly. We'll see. But yeah, so we're going to drain the coolant, remove the radiator, and then start mocking everything else up. Okay, also I managed to push through tonight, and I just removed the radiator, got that out of the way. So I think what I need to do is basically mount the turbo up on here. I'm not sure yet exactly which way I need to have the inlet, whether it be coming out this way or coming out that way. So what I need to do is probably take this off a handful of times to try and kind of figure that out. And I was trying to, basically figure out with the wastegate which direction it needs to come out also. So it's going to be really, really, really tough clearing the radiator here. So we'll pull that off. I don't know if I'm going to do that tonight yet, but maybe tomorrow we'll do that, and that way we can get a little bit further along here. So I did get a wild hair at my ass, and I did just bolt the turbo on here to kind of see where it needs to be, and I think honestly it's pretty much clocked the way that it has to be. I'm gonna have to run the inlet of the turbo coming out this way, because the way that the wastegate flange comes out here, this way I can meet it up with the downpipe on this side here. So it'll come out up here and it'll meet with it, and this is more than likely, since it's pretty close to the block, if I can get in there and you guys can see, but it's probably only about a ½ inch away from the dipstick tube, and it's a couple inches away from the block. So it's basically gonna have to come out and do almost a 90 out and then down. But I think we'll have plenty of room to run a nice filter off this side, even with the radiator being in here. The only thing we may run into, and I didn't think about it, is the radiator fan itself. So we may still have to run a low profile filter on here, but should be able to run some filter of sorts on this setup. But I think it's honestly clocked, like I said, pretty much right where it needs to be. So I guess we'll just keep kind of moving forward. I might just try and bolt the, oops, shoot. I should probably put a couple nuts on there to hold this on. Okay, so I set the radiator back in here, and I am not able to get the wastegate on. The wastegate, the cap of it or the top of it is big enough where it actually hits on here, and then I'm not able to butt the V-band clamp or V-band up to it. So we are for sure going to end up having to go to a half-size radiator. So it's next day, guys. What I've been doing here is I did actually clock the turbo a little bit differently. The center section I had to rotate. I didn't realize that I didn't have the oil inlet on the top. It was the coolant inlet that I had up there, so I had to rotate the center section. And then I also rotated this a little bit. It was straight down before, but I'm pointing it in a little bit because to be able to clear the downpipe, the wastegate, the half-size radiator that we got to get, and basically everything else, I'm thinking that having it tipped in at this direction will be best, because then we can kind of just go back behind here and literally route the intercooler piping on the back side of the intercooler. So I'm either gonna do a backdoor entrance, come in through here, or I'm gonna route it and come through the hole. Kind of hard to see, there's not any light in here, but there's a hole right here, and come through that and around. So I want to stay away from the wastegate here for sure, keep that heat away from it. So try and keep it as far away as possible. Also found out that the oil line kit that we got needed a couple adapter fittings. So I needed adapter fitting for the feed side, as well as it was not an adapter fitting for the drain, but we needed a 90-degree fitting. So what we're gonna do, I'll show you here, is I got this on here. So being that the downpipe's gonna come off of here, we're gonna have to probably come off and come out this way a little bit before we turn down. So I need to keep this as tight to the block as possible to be able to keep it far enough away from the downpipe. So like I said, this is gonna come out and kind of curve back and come down. Either that, or we're gonna come down and maybe do a fender dump, or come out in front of one of the front tires. Not exactly sure yet, haven't gotten that far. But I just know that no matter what we do, we got to keep this very tight to the block. So we have a 90-degree fitting that we need to put in here. So I'm actually going to use the one that we had, which is a straight. It's a 1/2-inch NPT to -10 AN, and then we're going to put a -10 female to -10 male fitting on, and that'll attach to this. So yeah, should be pretty simple, no issues there, and that's kind of where we're at the moment. Next step in the project was removing the, I have to remove the sandwich plate on the back of the engine for the Vtec setup. This fitting went in the head. Have to remove the sandwich plate because I can't get at the 1/4 inch NPT fitting that's on it. I need to rotate it. And the plug that's in it is like stuck too. I just can't get at it really well. So I'm going to take it off, get the plug out. That way we can plumb our high pressure feed line from the turbo to the sandwich plate. So we'll work on getting the sandwich plate off, and I'll show you what we're going to do. So we're going to have to get a new sandwich plate. Probably never going to order another Blocks one again. Piece of shit. That's what it is. This plug here was in there so tight I actually snapped the Allen off inside of it, and it's a hardened one. And yeah, I tried drilling it out. I cannot get it extracted. So this thing is a paperweight now. Even tried heating it up, didn't work. So yeah, sandwich plate, junk. So while we're waiting for all the fittings to come that we need and the sandwich plate, I think the only thing we really can probably do is work on the intercooler and the piping, because otherwise everything else we're kind of waiting on things. I can't really mock any of the other stuff up until I have that stuff, so that's probably going to be the next step here. Took the front bumper off, got that sitting over here. I'm going to have to separate the plastic skin from the support and everything, because we're going to end up mounting the intercooler inside of that. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to do. I got to get that separated. There's some rusty bolts I'm probably going to have to cut. I'm also going to clean up the front end here. It's pretty dusty and dirty. Do that also. Hey guys, so it's been a couple days. I did get a few parts in the last couple days. We got a new sandwich plate in. Got the Vtec line attached, as well as the oil feed line for the turbo. We did get a couple other fittings I'll show you here. We got a 90 for the oil pan, and that'll run up to the turbo. So we got that. Still waiting on the fitting I need to go from here and into the turbo itself. It's a really weird thread in the turbo, so it's a special fitting that I need to adapt to that. Still waiting on that. Should hopefully be in this week. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the sandwich plate on and get all the lines kind of ran and mocked up to where they're going to be, so that way when the fitting comes, all I do is thread it in the turbo and be good to go. So around the back of the block here, you can see our Vtec line off to the right, and then our oil feed line at the top up there. This is where we deleted the PCV system, but yeah, so you can kind of see the lines, got them fed up through there. Now we just got to route the oil line really nice, and then reattach the Vtec line back to the head. So again, up on top here, this is our Vtec line. We got to thread the fitting back into the head right there where that hole is, and then this line will attach to it. And then our oil feed, I'm going to probably get some nice things here and attach it real nicely along this or something. It'll be just long enough to reach the turbo. So I got this routed pretty well. I got this one of these little hold down things here, and then that'll end up going kind of like this. So should work out good. Another thing I did earlier today, I just kind of threw this on here. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to get a different size coupler. With this throttle body being so big, I literally had to heat and heat and heat this silicone coupler up just to get it to barely slide over, and it's just barely on there. I cannot push it on any further. And this was a 2.75 to 2.5 inch 45-degree bend coupler. I ended up ordering a 3 inch to 2.5 inch 45-degree bend coupler. And then I had to get a different T-bolt clamp to a bigger one, a 3-inch one as well, because this throttle body is so big. But you can kind of see how this is going to mock up in here like this. Our 50 millimeter blow-off valve will go right there. And then this, I think, will come out, and then I think the charge pipe's going to come around here. I haven't mocked this one up yet, and then our intercooler will be in there. But I believe this is going to go somewhere like that, and then round this corner. But pretty snazzy. Okay, so I managed to get the front bumper cover separated from the support, and I just kind of temporarily bolted this on here. I'm going to probably paint this all up and stuff too, but I got to do a bunch of cutting and stuff on it, so I'm going to worry about that after. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually cut this lip off of here, and I'm going to try and I'm going to mount the intercooler right to the underside of this, but I want to have it scooted as far back as I can. I mean, this is probably 3-4 inches thick, probably 3 inches thick. So I want to keep it as far back in as I can, so that way I don't have to cut any of the grill of the bumper cover out. I can just leave it looking pretty factory, that sort of thing. So that's kind of the plan at the moment. Cut that lip all the way across to off, and then I might cut this open a little bit here so I can access it. I'm gonna probably drill some holes through it and then run some bolts down through that. So I think it'll be pretty slick and stealthy. Alright guys, so after a couple hours of messing around, I finally got her mounted up on there. I ended up drilling holes through this, and on the back side of this support I cut it out a little square so I could get the bolt and washer through, and as well as the ratchet, so that way I could tighten it down. But yeah, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this back off, and I'm going to paint this piece so it doesn't look so crummy. Not that you see it, but still, if I have it off, might as well paint it. I recruited Donnie to come over. He's the mechanic for tonight. Chad's over there drinking beer for the both of us. So managed to get the bumper support painted last night. We just have the foam piece on here that goes behind the bumper cover, but the intercooler is mounted. We have the cold side piping all routed and hooked up. So we had a nice 45 degree there, comes around. We did have to cut a little bit of this cross member out of here. Not too bad though, cut that out and then ran it up. We got our 50 millimeter blow-off valve on here, our VS Racing. And we do have a different coupler coming for this because this is the wrong size for this throttle body, but that'll come in this week. But yeah, it's definitely coming along good. Now we just have to figure out how we're gonna run the hot side piping. I don't have any piping here for this side yet, so once we come up with a plan of attack, figure out what we need for some bends, and then and route that in. Hey guys, so it's been a few more days. Got a few more parts in and a couple other small things done. I did manage to get the oil feed fitting, the correct one, with adapters that I needed to run the oil line. I'll show you how I did that. So if you look in here, that's the feed. You can see that silver fitting. That adapts to this 90 we have here. And then the line itself will attach to that in there on that 90. The other thing I did, I get under here. I got the oil return line all done. Show you how that looks. Oops. See, it goes from there. There is downslope to this. It's hard to kind of tell under here, but and then that adapts into the oil pan. So the hard part is going to be when we start welding up our downpipe, because it's going to have to come like this. So I have to go out around in between the traction bar and the oil line here. So probably maybe throw some type of heat tape or something on this, a sleeve at some point as well. Probably be a good idea. But I think there should be enough room. It's a 3-inch exhaust. We've probably got, I don't know, 8-9 inches in between here, so there should be plenty of room there. to snake down underneath. So, and then yeah, the wastegate's mounted up there. Probably have to rotate that a little bit depending. And we did get some more intercooler piping ordered. We are short on that, so it's basically going to come from here, go around, go up through that hole, come out that hole, come over, and then attach onto the turbo. We also added the fitting on here. It's a vacuum port. Vacuum line will run from this over to the wastegate. So those two will be connected. We got the blow-off valve one connected also. So yeah, she's coming along. So one step at a time. So we are gonna attempt to start the car. Fingers crossed, everything goes okay. We're just gonna do a little test fire and see what happens. It was at this moment where I really messed up. Oil filter. Oh, dude. Yeah. All right, so we're about to officially start the car for the first time. We don't have the radiator in it or any antifreeze, but we're just gonna start it up, let it run for, 15, 20 seconds or so, and just verify that, we don't have any oil leaks, stuff like that, before we get any further. So without further ado, start her up. So after the second attempt, we did manage to finally get the car running with no oil leaks once the oil filter was installed. Yeah, it seems to be running good. We did get some more stuff in the last day or so here. We got more intercooler piping, that sort of thing. So we're gonna save that for the next video, guys, and we're gonna wrap this one up, and we'll catch us on the next episode. We'll hopefully be finishing up the rest of the turbo kit and maybe take it for a drive. So please like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. We'll see y'all on the next one. Woohoo!